I have a question that I would like to ask you today. Are you showing mercy to others just as God has shown mercy to you? Are you showing mercy to others just as God has shown mercy to you? And somebody may say, what do you mean? Well, I want you to think about your life just like I have to look over and think about my life. See, as I was reading over Matthew chapter 18 about the unforgiving debtor, and I'm going to read a couple of those verses to you. And when you get a chance, like I always say, go back, read them over for yourself, okay? But as I was reading over it, and it just made me think about me because I have to look in the mirror. And when I read this, and as I think about the way that God can show us so much mercy and grace within our lives, do we do the same when it comes to other people's lives? Do we do the same thing when people do us a certain way? I want you to think about it. I'm going to start with verse 23. And I want you to think about what it's saying. And I want you to be real and ask yourself the question, am I showing mercy to others like the Lord has shown mercy to me? And it's written in red. So it's the Lord is telling this story. The Lord is telling this parable. And I want you to think about the words that it is being said. And I want you to think about it. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with the servants. I want you to think about that now. Like I said, go back, read it over for yourself. Who had borrowed money from him. Verse 24. In the process, one of his debtors was bought in who owed him millions of dollars. Verse 25. He couldn't pay. So his master ordered that he be sold along with his wife, his children, and everything he owed to pay his debt. Verse 26. But the man fell down before his master and begged him, please be patient with me, and I will pay it all. Verse 27. Then his master was filled with pity for him. You know, that's how the Lord is filled with us, pity for us. And he released him and forgave his debt. Okay? I want you to think about that now. His master forgave the debt that he owed, millions of dollars now. Verse 28. But when the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him a few $1,000s. He grabbed him by the throat and determined instant payment. Verse 29. His fellow servant fell down before him and begged him for a little more time. Be patient with me and I will pay it, he pleaded. Verse 30. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and put in prison until the debt could be paid in full. I want you to think about that now, verse 31. When some of the other servants saw the way that saw this, they were very upset. They went to the king and told him everything that happened. Then the king called the man he had forgiven and said, you evil servant. You evil servant. I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant? Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had mercy on you? Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he had paid his entire debt. Verse 35, this is the last verse, and I want you to listen to what it says. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. I want you to think about that now. That was a parable that the Lord was using. And he was using that parable to explain to Peter, because Peter did ask the Lord earlier in verses, how many times should we forgive someone? So the Lord gave that parable to Peter, letting him know we are called to forgive. Now, I want you to think about everything is said, and when you get a chance, you go back and read everything. Is that not how we do? Is that not the way that we do others? We want God to do us one way, but we want to treat people another way. Just like that gentleman now, the same way that the guy in the parable did. Could that very well be you? Because I can raise my hand and say, I know I'm guilty of doing that too. Why is it that we want the Lord to show us mercy and grace, but sometimes when it comes to us, we can't do it to other people? What is it about your life on today that you know for a fact that the Lord showed you nothing but mercy, but then you was just like the guy in the parable? You ran to somebody else and had the nerve to say, but I'm not going to forgive you. See, we hold grudges against other people, but we don't want God holding a grudge against us. I want you to think about that now. We got the nerve to hold grudges and turn our head on other people, but we don't want the Lord to do us that way. And I want you to be real with yourself and think, what if the Lord did us the same way? We want the mercy, we want the grace from God, but then we got the nerve to not want to show somebody else mercy and grace from God. God didn't throw us away, but we got the nerve to want to throw other people away. I want you to think about that now. Is that you on today? Sometimes we can be so quick to walk away when the Lord never did us that way. What is it that you could be holding on to? What is it? Because see, you see now, the Lord is saying, if you don't forgive, if you don't let that stuff go, it can block you from getting in the gate. How do you expect the Heavenly Father to forgive you if you won't forgive others? And do you on today need to forgive before it's too late? What is it on the day that you need to let go? What is it that you need to take to the Heavenly Father and say, Lord, I can't be like this no more. I can't have this cold heart anymore. I can't have this hate in my heart anymore. I need you to restore me, Lord. What is it on the day that you need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I need to be restored into something new? What is it on the day that you need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I need to be more like you? Because as I sit and think, and sometimes I just have to sit and I have to thank God and say, God, I'm so glad that you're not called to be like me, but I'm called to be like thee. And somebody need to get in that mirror and look at their life and say, Lord, I'm so thankful that you're not called to be like me. I'm thankful, Lord, that I'm called to be like thee. Because if the Lord was like us, we wouldn't be no good. If the Lord was just like us, he would have been thrown us away and been done with us. And thank God that he's not like me. And thank God that he's nothing like you. But the Lord's love is truly true. I want you to think about it. What is it that you know? You doing somebody else a certain way right now in your life. Right now, you doing somebody any kind of way, but the Lord didn't do you that way. On today, you looking to throw somebody else away, but the Lord didn't do you that way. Somebody been trying to apologize to you. Somebody been trying to talk to you and get back in your good graces, and you saying, no, no, no. Not today. What is it on today that you need to let go of and say, I need to do better because the Lord didn't do me that way? What is it that you need to go back to? Is it a family member you need to make things right with? Is it a friend you need to make things right with? Is it a coworker? Is it your spouse? Who is it on today that you know you've been holding that grudge for too long? You know you have. You got some parents right now, they won't even talk to their kids. What is it on today that you holding a grudge over? Some people, loved ones been passed away. They mad because they got into it over at the funeral because they felt like mama left them something, or they feel like that individual didn't do right when their loved one passed away, and they still holding on to their grudge. What is it that on today you need to let go of and say, I need to let go. I need to do better today. Because see, we can't be forgiven if we don't forgive others. And what if the Lord do us the very same way? What is it that you still holding on to that you won't let go? Is it something in your marriage that your spouse did and you just won't let go? You holding it over their head and you holding it over their head and you won't let it go. At what point is it time for you to let it go? It's not saying that that person didn't do you wrong. It's not saying that that person didn't talk to you wrong. But at what point do you let it go? At what point do you forgive your ex-wife or your ex-husband and let it go? At what point do you forgive your child father and let it go? When are you going to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I need help letting it go so I can grow? When are you going to let it grow? Yes, maybe somebody didn't give you back the money. Maybe they didn't. Somebody said they was going to pay you the money back and they never did. But when are you going to let it go? It's going on 5 and 10 years. It's not saying that you got to give it back to them. It's not saying that you got to keep loaning the money and doing. It's not saying that. But when are you going to let it go? You don't have to be a doormat and keep letting people walk all over you. But some people hold grudges so much, it turns them bitter. It turns them so nasty, and could that very well be you? When is it time for you to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I haven't always done everything right, and the Lord has forgave me. Because some people are trying to ask for forgiveness, and you won't let it go. When do you let it go so you can grow? When do you do it? Are you going to let that unforgiveness that you have stop you from getting in the gate before it's too late? Somebody on today need to make things right, or go to the Lord and cry out to the Lord and say, Lord, I can't keep being like this. I got to let that mess go. When are you going to get to a point and cry out to the Lord and say, Lord, I got to let this go? Because if we could do things our way, we'll throw people away. But I'm so thankful that God didn't do me that way. And that's something that the Lord had to put in front of my face. We quick to throw people away. We quick to not want to give nobody else another chance. But we cry and we want the Lord to give us all type of chances. And could that very well be you? Because I know I was guilty of it. Somebody do something wrong to us, we done with them. We got the nerve to wash our hands. I ain't answering the phone. I ain't doing nothing else. We got the nerve to be done. But what if the Lord would do us that very same way? On today, if you need to cry out to the Lord, go to the Lord and say, Lord, I need a new heart. Renew my heart, Lord, because, Lord, I can't keep living this way because it's going to lead you the wrong way. You need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I need to start showing more mercy the same way, Lord, that you show mercy to me each and every day. Because if the Lord didn't show mercy and grace to us, we'll be dead off in hell. And I want you to think about it. And that's just the truth. If the Lord didn't give us an opportunity to get our lives together. So why will we not do it for somebody else? So on today, who is it that you need to make things right? What is it that you need to let go so you can grow? What is it that you need to let go so you can know for sure when your eyes closed, you will get in the gate? Make it right before it's too late. So always remember my closing. Self-examination is the best examination, and Jesus Christ is Lord, and He's all we have. Have a great rest of the day.